Hi there. My name is Derek, and I was in the Air Force. And like any good I was in the Air Force story, mine started in the Navy recruiter's office. I had spent the last few months with them going and doing the physical and the ASVAB and all that testing and all that kind of stuff like that. And I was there to join the Navy at this point. I had a stack of paperwork in front of me, and in that stack of paperwork contained my name in the next 4 years of my life. And I had the pen in my hand, and I was ready to sign, date, and initial where applicable. Um, and at that kind of moment, there was a recruiter right to the left of us, and he was talking to an applicant, and he turns to me and he says, "Hey, you know what, Derek? Um, I need to ask my applicant some sensitive questions. Do you mind stepping out for a few minutes, and I'll come get you when we're done?" And I was like, I looked I then looked at my recruiter, and he kind of looked annoyed but relented. I'm guessing there was some sort of uh, pay grade thing happening here, and so my recruiter said, "Yeah, go ahead and just head out into the hallway, and I'll be out there in a second." And I was like, "All right." I didn't really like this hallway. I don't know about your recruiting station, but my hallway, the recruiting in my recruiting station, the hallway in my recruiting station, I should say. The hallway contained the doors to every branch of the military, and it always made me nervous. I was always afraid I was going to sign up with somebody by accident or something, And I'm walking through the hall, and the first office you come to on the left is the Army office. And my dad and my uncle were both drafted into the Army in Vietnam, and they did not speak highly of the Army, so there was definitely no way I was going in there. Um, and then to the right of the Army was the Marines office. And there was always those two recruiters out there with that pull-up bar, always trying to bait you into doing some pull-ups or something, kind of questioning your manhood about it and everything. And you know there's not too many things I know completely and totally in life, but I know I'm not a Marine. I just know that from the start. And I'm glad people are Marines. I'm not putting anybody down by any means. I just was not built for it, and I'm glad people are built for it. That means I didn't have to do it. Um, but yeah, I had, and they would always be like, "Hey, man, I bet you can't do any pull-ups, no," or I bet you can't do three or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, I bet you're right. I bet I can't. I bet you're right." And then keep walking, and there's the Coast Guard recruiting office on the left. And it looked like it was hastily closed like 10 years ago. It's all dusty, and like the computer chair is turned, like the person just left the office and never came back. There's a sign on the door that says "Out to lunch. We'll be back at 1 p.m." like 10 years ago. But yeah. And then just at the very end of the hallway down there was that government placard kind of thing right over the door, and it said Air Force. And I'll be honest, I'd never really heard of the Air Force. I didn't really know what they did. I mean, I guess it's in the name, but I didn't even know if they were a branch of the military. I don't know if we went over different branches of the military in school, but if we did, I wasn't there or I wasn't paying attention or what. I don't know, but never heard of this Air Force really. But I'm kind of at this angle where I can look right through the door without being seen, kind of at an angle. And the first thing I notice is the posters on the door are very different than all the rest of the branches posters. And that, all the other branches, they were like people like covered in mud, and they were like crawling around the ground, and they were miserable. And they just looked like they were in pain. And in this Air Force office, there were like people were happy. There was like sunshine and blue skies. There was just smiling, happy people. And I'm like, what the hell? What is this? I didn't even know if it was a branch of the military, really. So I kind of stick my head in further because I'm a little bit curious at this point. And I see the recruiter there, and he's wearing a blue suit, and he has some military-looking things on it, the suit, but still, he's wearing a blue suit. Everybody else is wearing camouflage or something. And so I kind of make myself known, kind of make a little noise. So he looks up and he goes, "Oh, hey, man, what's up?" And I'm like, "What's up?" I'm an 18-year-old top physical shape. If any of those recruiters would have seen me walk through the hallway, they would have stopped everything they did and tried to sign me up. And this guy's like, "Hey, what's up?" He was on a laptop too, which is rare. I mean, we're talking 1995 here, you know. And so there was no internet or anything, and so yeah, it was just doing something on a laptop, and which was rare. Like I said, having a laptop back then, but I was like, nothing. I don't know. I'm joining the Navy actually, but they asked me to step out for a few minutes. So he's like, oh, okay. He seemed kind of confused by why they would ask me to step out, but whatever. So he's like, well, come on in, have a seat, man. I was like, oh, okay. I got nothing else to do at this point. So I go and I sit down and he goes, so you joined the Navy, huh? And I was like, yeah, yeah. He's like, man, you must really like boats. And I'll be honest with you. Again, I was 18, it was 1995. I didn't really know all the options I had. I didn't do any research because there really wasn't any way to do research except for, like, I don't know, going to a library or something. I certainly wasn't going to do that. And so I was like, yeah, no, boats. Yeah. And I thought, I thought back as he said that, I thought back to the 3 times I'd been on a boat. And each time I got horribly seasick, violently seasick. But I thought to myself, first of all, I'm 18. I'm not going to admit I'm wrong. And secondly, these boats in the Navy are huge. I'm sure they just, cut right through those waves, so I'm sure you don't get seasick or anything on those things. And yeah, like I said, I just met this guy and I'm 18. I'm not gonna admit I didn't think about being on a boat while joining the Navy. So I was like, yeah, no, I like boats. Yeah, no, I like boats. He's like, oh, that's cool, man. That's cool, man. He's like, they're on those things for a while too, man. Like 6 months, right? I think they're on for like 6 months, and then they're back on land for like 6 months, then they're back in the water for 6 months. I was like, again, not something I'd really thought about. Um, I was like, you know, I guess. And he goes, he kind of sits back in his chair, and he goes, how many girls do you think are on a boat? And I was like, not entirely sure. He goes, I think there's like 20, 30 girls on there. I was like, ah, okay. And he goes, how many dudes? How many guys are on a boat? I was like, oh, no. He goes, there's like 2,000, 3,000 of them or something like that. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, man, those are some pretty stacked odds. That's tough. I mean, he's like, maybe you got a good game. He's like, I don't know, maybe you got a good game. I'm like, oh shit, and I thought about, the one time I'd been with a girl up to this point and how it was complete luck. I don't even know how I even ended up there, and how I had absolutely no game whatsoever. And but I'm not going to admit to this guy I didn't think about that either. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm sure I could be all right. I'm sure I'll be fine. And he goes, let me just tell you a little something about the Air Force. The Air Force, not many people know this, but the Air Force has the highest percentage of girls out of any other branch of the military. And I was like, what's that? He's like, yeah, we have more girls than anybody else, man. He's like, we're higher percentage of girls than anybody else. I was like, wow, that's pretty good. He's like, and we have dorms that's called one for one. It's a new thing the Air Force is doing. You'll never have a roommate in the Air Force. You'll always have your own room, and get that bit of privacy there. You got your bed, you got your sink, you got your, TV, computer, whatever you want. I was like, dang, man. And he's like, and did I also tell you that the dorms in the Air Force are co-ed? They are co-ed dorms. That means there's girls, guys, I mean, everywhere. I was like, holy shit. I didn't need to hear anymore. That was all I needed. I said, "Sign me up. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna do that thing." I said, "What's the name of your organization, good sir?" He said, "The Air Force." I said, "Hell, yeah. Let's do." I was like, "Can I do that? Is that a thing I can do, or do I have to join the Navy still?" He's like, "No, you can join." He's like, "Have you signed anything with that?" I was like, "No, I was about to." He's like, "No, no, yeah, you just come on." And so yeah, we took my Navy paperwork, put some white out all over the Navy parts, and just wrote in the Air Force, and biggity bam, I was on my way, man. And hell yeah, I never looked back. I never was like, dang, I wish I joined the Navy. Not a single time. That's all the time I have. This is what are we looking at? 9 minutes here. That's long enough. My name is Derek, and thanks for being here. And I have plenty of these stories, and I'm just gonna 10 minutes at a time, 9 minutes at a time here, just kind of give them to you. whether you want them or not. But yeah, my name is Derek, and I joined the Air Force for the girls, and that is 100% a fact, and I am not ashamed of it whatsoever. It was a blast. I would do it again if I could. Thank you so much. Bye.